Hi. Welcome to 2020, the musical. This is Act 1, Chapter 1, the prologue. Now, I always knew 2020 was going to be a monumental year because I was turning 50 and my marriage was turning 25. It was going to be a year of reflection and celebration, a goalpost. But I always wondered what 2020 would be like. Would it be terrible, like Back to the Future Part 2? Or awesome, like Blade Runner, the director's cut? Yeah, well, I didn't know. So my New Year's goal was to write some songs and record them with my Hedwig and the Angry Inch tribute band, the Sideways Grimace. We'll get to that later. But on New Year's Day, I wrote the first song, and it was about the promise and possibility of the new year. And spoiler alert, we all know how it turned out. But as the year progressed, or regressed, or digressed, I started to use this songwriting more like therapy. And that's the therapy that I'm going to share with all of you tonight. And therapy, like songwriting, is a personal process, and sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes you have to be loud and messy and naked, often naked. So I needed a place to do that. So late at night, after my wife and kids were asleep, I would go in my car in the garage and I would record. Now there was no depression. I mean, some depression, but no emissions because it's an electric car. And the songs that I recorded are the songs that I'm going to play for you. And the very first one, written in the before times, was called 2020. Do you remember when 2020 seemed so far away? Would we have robots and be living in outer space? Would we eliminate death and disease? Would we learn how to live in peace? In 2020, would we fix our mistakes and stop the bleeding that's depleting us before it's too late? In 2020, would we realize at last we're not destined to repeat our past? Unless we're destined to repeat our past. But 2020 is now underway, and dystopia's utopia compared to today. We choose the fiction, we're going back because we lost the definition of fact. In 2020, we stare at the screens, they are collecting all the wreckage and mining for meaning. In 2020, we've sucked ourselves dry, but we refuse to move the needle despite the lies keep leading the blind. But 2020's feeling alright for me. The globe's getting worse, but life's still better than I ever could dream. In 2020, I've got long-lasting love and can focus on my motivation and practice my best action. Strengthen most my close relations. Gonna make 2020 mine. I can try to lead with empathy and stand with my community. Take a breath before I leap and know that all I control is my mind. Gonna make 2020 mine. I'm gonna make 2020 shine. I am going to focus on my motivation and practice my best action. But who was I going into 2020? You all are going to find out in Chapter 2, The Architect. Oh, shit. The Architect.
That's better.
I always wanted to pretend I was an architect. From the time I was a little kid, I was into comic books and visions of the future. Architecture was my density, my destiny. And I had a very clear path until I heard the Van Halen on the MTV, and then I was convinced that I was going to be an architect after I did that. And then I heard a sound that came out of Austin, Texas, which gave me a destination. Stevie Ray Vaughan pointed me here. And when I got to Austin in the early 90s, it was like paradise. There was literally a Paradise Cafe at 6th and Trinity in the heart of Austin, and it was like that Edward Hopper painting parody, but instead of Marilyn Monroe and James Dean, it was like Charlie Sexton and the members of Joe Rockhead. It was an incredible time, and there were incredible group of clubs and club owners that really supported music and musicians. I'm going to start at 6th and Trinity, and I'm going to head west. I got to play the Ritz, the Black Cat, the Cannibal Club, keep going down to Liberty Lunch, then the Electric Lounge. We're going to go down Lamar to Shady Grove, Threadgills, Aquafest one year, the Back Room, then we're going to go back down 35, up 6th Street, back to Steamboat, which was my home. Steamboat 1874 was heaven on earth for us. We had a 3-year residency there, and I had some of the best times of my life there. And I listed those clubs in particular because those are all clubs that made us the live music capital of the world, including places like Saxon Pub, but those were the ones that were victims of Austin's success and are no longer with us, like the Armadillo and the Austin Opera House. Long gone, but hopefully never forgotten. But I have thousands of great stories from that time, but I'm going to tell one. And this was Halloween night, 1994, and we were playing to a packed house. It was we were opening up for a band called the Monsters of Rock, and the Monsters were just this collective of incredible Austin musicians that would get together every Sunday night, whether it was a packed house or nobody there, and they would play. But they were the Austin honorees, and it was an honor to get to open for them. And when I walked off stage, I saw my friend Martian, and does anybody remember Martian? Yeah. And he handed me some mushrooms. And, I'm pretty straight-laced, teetotaler, rigid, inflexible. These are words that have come up in couples therapy. But it was Halloween night. I guess that made it all right. And I thought, what do I have to lose? And honey, I said, Richard's on mushrooms. And soon there was a swirl of light and color, which looked a lot better in my rehearsal space. I was getting into the music, and everything was kind of melding together, and it was beautiful, but it was also really hot. So I decided to leave. And at Steamboat, you had to walk past the stage in order to get out. And as I was walking past the stage, somebody from the stage handed me a guitar. It was Stephen Doster. And I wasn't really in my right mind, and I heard a familiar song. It went, Brilliant. I was like, I know this. So I got up on the stage and started jamming. Excited just for the chance to play. I looked over to see the Monsters playing with me, and it was Chris Whipper Layton. and Tommy Shannon on the bass. Double trouble. So I'm playing with my idols while on hallucinogens. Wording, Lord, what have I done? Then I heard a sweet song, soul singing. Looked over, and it was Grammy-winning artist and guitar virtuoso Eric Johnson. What the fuck? So I turned down my volume slightly, and fortunately that was the last song of the set. And as Eric Johnson was packing up, I went up to him and I said, "Man, it is such an honor to get to play on stage with you." And that beautiful Sandy Duncan-looking man-child put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "The honor is mine. The honor is mine." Well, I know that the honor wasn't his that particular night. But I like to think that the Richards on Mushrooms that night was talking to a different Eric Johnson, the astral plane Eric Johnson, that has been my spirit animal ever since, guiding me, making sure that I'm on the right paths. And I am convinced that he is here tonight in the ether, watching over us, and hopefully tonight the honor is his. But I knew it wasn't going to get any better than that, and I honestly missed architecture, so I stopped playing music and I started Weiss Architecture, and we have had an incredible run. We got to design Alamo draft houses all over the country, and Kirby Lanes all over town and expanding out now, and the Collings Guitar Factory. I got to watch this get made from raw wood. And probably my highest honor, the bathrooms here at the Saxon pub. And for those of you who remember the old bathrooms, yeah, you're welcome. But in 2014, my wife and I went to see Hedwig and the Angry Inch on Broadway, and it was like a bolt of lightning for me. It woke up something that I hadn't felt in 17 years, and I felt my spidey sense tingle, and when we left, I said to Kelly, I said, "I really want to do that." And she said, you want to go back to New York and see this again? I was like, "No, I want to dress in drag and tell terrible jokes in a German accent." But the problem was I had a family and a reputation, and I didn't know if I could do both. So I looked to some of my idols, people like Bruce Wayne and Hong Kong Phooey. I'm not even sure if you're allowed to say that one anymore, but I think the best example is probably Miley Cyrus. Because I could have the best of both worlds, architecting by day, then rocking the night away. The only thing that all of them had that I was missing was a secret identity. So in February, I wrote this. Flashback, when I was just a kid, thought that jetpacks would be here by now. Backtrack, what's taking you so long? Where's the technology? Jetpacks, I'd fly across the sky, never look back. The world needs saving. Fat cats, you better run and hide, 'cause there is no stopping me. My secret identity is keeping you safe and sound, as long as I'm never found out. And I'm feeling so alone, yeah, I don't know which road I'm gonna follow. I would give up fighting crime at the drop of a dime if I thought that I could be free. But my secret identity is starting to take control. I'm beginning to lose my hold. Back to the jetpacks. So what happened there? We got the world in our pocket, ain't got shit in the air. Fast track, let's get this show on the road. Find the technology, but we know jetpacks will never get off the ground. We'll be an air traffic crash, tastic sky full of ass clowns. Scratch that, let's find a better way. Something that's more today. Something a bit more safe. Something we can control. A peace that will make us whole. We've got more than we ever dreamed, but we're falling apart at the seams. And the tools you use to get through are the ones that are gonna destroy you. We need something to give us hope, something to help me cope, something we can work toward, maybe a hoverboard. How's that for a callback? But we are now in March, and I am a hero that's looking for a battle. And what Austinites battle in March? Yes! Okay, good. This is the kind of audience interaction that I was hoping for. Now, the first time I ever came to Austin was when my Houston funk band played South by #3 in 1989. But then in 93 to 97, I was living here, and I got to play 4 South Bys in a row at Steamboat, my home base, to a packed crowd, and the musician in me was over the moon, and the architect in me was frightened as hell because that building was packed, and I knew the structural integrity, and it was back when you could smoke in clubs, so it was just like a fire pit of alcohol and cigarettes. But they're still 4 of my favorite moments in the history of music. But South by has gotten overblown, and there are always the naysayers, the people who are like the crowds and the traffic and the noise and that usually lasts maybe a month after South by, sometimes 2. Sometimes it goes all the way to ACL, and then it's like ACL, the traffic and the noise. But South by had gotten too big, and it really shut down Austin. But then in March, I think it was March 6th of 2020, in a kind of Ross and Rachel-like will they, won't they, Austin shut down South by. And that hadn't happened in the 34 years that South by existed. And it was weird because we were all used to this hurricane in the middle of March, and now it felt like we were in the eye of a storm. It was all quiet, and it was a different kind of storm. It was like an unknown biological storm, and so we didn't know what to expect. All I can say is, put on your raincoats because it's about to get wet. This song is called Hurricane. They said that it would come today, come and carry us away like ashes in the wind. They told us not to hesitate, to leave before it gets too late, but nobody listened. 'Cause everyone is dying to see Mother Nature's fury. Watch her keep the children in line. Everyone is dying to see floating cars and flying trees, safe within the eye. But we are gonna follow whichever way the wind blows, dancing in a hurricane, melting in the snow. We are gonna follow whichever way the wind blows, dancing in a hurricane. Your head, how are you gonna make a bed with shattered glass and dreams? You say say you want to break the bread. I'm worried about the ceiling falling down on me. 'Cause everyone is dying to see Mother Nature's fury. Watch her cut the baby in two. Everyone is dying to see floating cars and flying trees till they're piled up on you. We are gonna follow whichever way the wind blows, dancing in a hurricane, melting with the snow. We are gonna follow whichever way the wind blows, dancing in a hurricane. So now we're in the eye of the hurricane, and it's just silence, and all you can hear is your heartbeat. And I can't keep tapping this guitar, so if you guys can just kind of give me a little tap or clap for that heartbeat. And then as we swirl out, we're gonna get a little louder, and a little louder, and then all of this is gonna come together. Put your hands together, 'cause we can't change the weather. Put your hands together and we'll make it through this storm. Put your hands together, we're in for nasty weather. The rain may try and bring us down, but love will keep us warm. 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 Thank you guys, and thank you for the audience participation. There's going to be a whole lot more of that if you guys are up for it. We are now in called Chapter 4, which is called The Real Hero. We have a villain, and we need a hero. We're holding out for a hero till the end of the night. He's got to be, any suggestions? Strong, good. Fast. I never understood fresh from the fight, because wouldn't you want ready for the fight? Because you'd already be tired. But I think I know a guy. You don't know how hard it is to find shirts with snaps these days. And that was not my real ass. That was this. But introducing STARKITECT. I'm still kind of working on is it STARKITECT or STARKITECT? I'm workshopping that. But before I can save the world, I have to address everything that superheroes have to address. Mainly, what am I going to call myself, and what am I going to wear? So the name was easy: architect, rock star, STARKITECT. Put a K in the middle to recall Tony Stark. And I think it was Mark Twain who said that there are no new ideas. But I got STARKITECT.com. So take that, Mark Twain. But as far as the outfit or costume or suit, maybe, nobody in Austin wears a suit. So I'll go with costume. I wanted to make sure that most of it was already from the house. Some of it is fully thrifted. The colors are Spider-Man, Superman, logos familiar. So I think it works. But then the power, that's a difficult one because actually I don't think I went over this. So when I was a kid, I used to collect comic books, and one of the comic books I collected was called Mr. X. And it was about an architect who had designed this beautiful, radiant city, and it got fucked up by shitty contractors. And then he had to go back and fix it brick by brick. And the artwork was beautiful, but it was a deep dive. So as an architect, I could design a radiant city, but it will most likely get fucked up by shitty contractors. So. As a musician, I can resonate. I can communicate. And this is really what I needed by April, because April, like the rest of us and the world, in April, I got canceled. There was canceled architecture projects, there was canceled Sideways Grimace show, and April was also our 25th wedding anniversary, and I had planned a surprise party that I had to cancel before Kelly even found out about it. And we ended up doing it on Zoom, but it wasn't the same. But Kelly, hi Kelly. Kelly has been my hero for 33 years. That's as long as I've known her. And 33 years, that's longer than Lizzo has been alive. And can any of you even remember a world without Lizzo? She doesn't understand this, and she certainly doesn't get that. To be honest, she kind of hates that. But she loves me, and when I first met her in college, on her turntable was this exact vinyl copy, first printing of Texas Flood. And it was probably at that moment that I knew that she was going to be my rock. Not my hard rock, more like my deadhead. But on April 5th, we were supposed to have a Sideways Grimace show, and we had to cancel it. So instead, I had my youngest daughter, Aria, who's 11, put the Headwood makeup on me, just like she did on Goldie here. She did an awesome job. And we talked through it, and it was a tutorial. It's actually on the Sideways Grimace Facebook page. It's fairly entertaining. But afterwards, I played a song that I had just written about the fact that she wasn't going back to school and we weren't going back to work, and that she couldn't go see her friend who lives 3 houses down. It was a song to unite us in isolation and to bring us closer, and that's what it's called, Closer. See your face, but can't know your touch. There's stormy weather, it's rough. I still feel your spirit, but not as much as when we're together, my love. But keep your distance, we have to listen until it's over. Distance, our best resistance will bring us closer. Closer. We've all been through our adversity. Some come out stronger, love. But what we're facing collectively requires all of us to keep our distance, stay in position until it's over. Keep our distance until remission will bring us closer. Closer. Closer than before the flood, when smaller things divided us. May enemies make rivals friends, and may tomorrow end up with us closer. There's a road ahead, but who knows how long, or the sacrifice we'll make. But we won't wonder where we went wrong if we learn from our mistakes. We'll go the distance, we're on a mission until it's over. Let's distance, and our commitment will bring us closer, closer.
Chapter 5, y'all!
This is called Texas Scorcher because it is now summer in Texas and it is hot. It is repressive and restless and relentless, and it's like trying to claw your way through hot jello. Not in a good way. But this was the summer that I turned 50 years old, and typically for a big occasion like that, my wife would collude with Bill Welker from South Austin Music, who's there, and they would pick out some kind of awesome guitar or bass or something for me. But there would be no collusion this year because I told Kelly in January that for my 50th birthday, I wanted a Lycra Spider-Man suit because by the time I turned 50, I was going to be in superhero shape. So she said, let me get this straight. For your 50th birthday, you want to dress up like a 15-year-old boy. Yes. And so she did. And I did. I spent the entire day in the Texas heat dressed up like a little boy. And it was so hot. And the suit was getting damp and it was starting to smell. And I was getting irritable and wondering if really a 50-year-old in a superhero costume is such a good idea. Thoughts on that? Well, I felt stuck, and like everything else in Texas summers, everything just felt sticky, and that sounded like the name of a Stones song. I'm stuck between a rock and a tree, between a she and a he. There's no way out. Yeah, I'm stuck between beginnings and ends, between the straights and the bends. I don't know who I should be. It's just sticky. Sticky. Yeah, I'm stuck between two wrongs and a right. Don't have the strength for the fight. But I won't know till the first blow. I'm stuck between the needle and vein. Just need two more for the pain, and then give me the keys. It's just sticky. Sticky. Night and day, and all I see are shades of gray, nothing in between. Staying awake while I'm fast asleep. I'm feeling the weight running on empty, going down. Yeah, I'm high and low. Be around, I'm moving fast and slow. I don't know which way is up. I gotta get unstuck to what I'm drawn to be and what's expected of me and where it's gonna lead. Whoa, I'm stuck with this parade of cliches. I gotta till I finish one page. One page. One page. That's a start. Chapter 6 is called Brave New World, because by this time we'd learned to adapt and life goes on for most. We're still stuck, and our home is our office, is our restaurant, is our prison. But at least I have a home. As you all know, the homeless problem here got out of control, and Austin's only answer was like a fire at a campground. Intense. Is that too soon? Not soon enough? It's really a sad facet of our new reality. And it's a struggle because now I'm 50, I'm in the public domain, I'm trapped in private, and this version of 2020 is much worse than Back to the Future Part 2. It's actually worse than Idiocracy. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle to wear the costume when you don't really feel like a hero. It's a struggle to feel, I think Neil Young said it best when he sang, helpless, helpless, helpless. Lord, can you hear me now? We are helpless, helpless, helpless. Every time I hear that song on the radio, it makes me cry. But every time I hear Nobody Does It Better by Carly Simon, that also makes me cry. I don't know why that's relevant. But we are helpless, and we're running out of toilet paper, and the toilet paper we have feels like sandpaper, and it gets stuck in there, sticky. I just sang about this, but the routine is getting crushing, and this is the last song of this act, but every day is the same. Zoom with me, be on my team. Let's Google Meet without leaving your seat. I got a project in France. I'm not wearing pants, but I'll still be around. Just not from the waist down, with a different background. If you're wearing a frown, turn the camera around. Put a mute on the sound just before I break down. Everyone can agree that in a quarantine, office space is a terrible waste. And every day's the same. Every day is the same. Every day is the same. Every day is the same. I gotta cover my face, I'm gonna keep it in place till the experts all say, time to put it away. Won't know how to behave, but I still want romance. Still not wearing pants, and all I can sigh is your hair and your eyes. I hope what's under the seams matches all of my dreams, 'cause it's hard to be seen and even harder to breathe. And every day is the same. Every day is the same. Every day is the same. And everyone is insane. This is the coda at the end of the act. You hear the chord strum and don't know how to react, 'cause it's like Layla or November Rain. It's a completely different song tacked on the end as a refrain, but it's got a question, a message for you. too. Now, in the Broadway version of this, or maybe the off-Broadway, possibly Zach Scott, maybe the corner of Congress and Mary, the lights would all fade down except for a single spotlight on me, and all of my backup men and women would fade into the distance, and it would just be a single light with me and my guitar, and I would sing 5 words, which are the outro to the first act, and then after I sang it 4 times, the room would light up, and all of the lighting, of course, and I'd have a huge chorus of singers behind me. But we tried it in rehearsal, and these guys really suck. They don't do anything, and they were also my audience for all of 2020. So I was hoping maybe if I sing these 5 words that you guys could latch on by the 4th time, and then I can sing the harmony to that, and we'll go out the first act with a bang. So let's give it a try. What is behind the mask? What is behind the mask? Come along with me. What is behind the mask? Just like I dreamed it. What is behind the mask? What is behind the mask? You've been hiding with your eyes. Part protection, part disguise. And I am missing your smile. Sometimes it's hard to be alive, just to get by. But I'll keep waging this war, keep fighting with you on my mind, all of the while. And if I'm gonna die a hero, at least I'll go in style. Curtain! You can probably tell that I'm no longer in mental shape to be a hero, so I had to take off the cape. I can keep the shirt because in this point in our story, STARKITECT's a household name, so wearing a shirt like this is the same as like wearing a Pickle Rick shirt or Spider-Man. It's part of the lexicon, and I can hide in plain sight as long as I have my glasses. So let's talk about the glasses for a second. So when I was 5 years old, I lived in Newton, Massachusetts, and there was a bookstore called the Chestnut Hill Mall bookstore, and that Action Comics was in the window. It was a Superman compendium. There was probably 60 issues of Superman from the 30s to the 60s, and I begged my mom for that book. I didn't know how to read, but there was something about a guy in a cape that has stuck with me, obviously. And even the 5-year-old Richard looked at Superman and Clark Kent and all of the people that knew them in common and didn't understand how they couldn't tell them apart. Little Richard was like, what the fuck? I mean, it's the same guy. And I never really understood which was the costume. Like, does Superman take off the glasses, or does Clark Kent put on the cape? Or are they both costumes of Kal-El, who's just kind of biding his time and figuring out what he's going to do with this puny planet when the time is right? The important thing is that he has a choice. And most superheroes have a choice about when they want to put on their tights or not. But depression is more like the Hulk. It stays inside you, and you can try and medicate it or meditate it or talk to someone about it. But if it decides to Hulk up, then you're just along for the ride. And Hulk doesn't care about Bruce Banner. Hulk only see Hulk. I'm not talking about like Professor Hulk or any of the variants. I'm talking about Hulk smash Hulk. That's the Hulk. But what if there is like a little Bruce Banner in Hulk's ear? Just kind of trying to talk him down, you know. Sun's going down, big fella. It's almost dark. You know, I definitely struggled with this during 2020, and the song I wrote about it is called Bipolar Whistleblower. You call me bipolar, but I don't know what you're talking about. But when you say I'm bipolar, I know exactly what you're talking about. 'Cause when I'm high, I can't see low. And when I'm low, I can only see lower. You are a bipolar whistleblower, and you're calling me out. When I'm filled with resilience, when I'm spilling with brilliance, yeah, you're knocking me down. Interrupting my bragging with that incessant nagging that it's so close to perfection if I can fix this little section. But it's not as good as I thought it would be, and there's not enough time. I'm all out of steam, yeah, my blood is boiling faster when I'm serving my worst master class in pressure's pushing panic. Gotta man up or get manic. The static's pulling this last thread, the sinking dread inside my head. It's splitting in two, it's breaking into the me and the you. And you call me bipolar. Just 'cause you say it doesn't mean that it's true. But if I wasn't bipolar, then there'd be no one I'd be singing this to. 'Cause when I'm high, I can't see low. And when I'm low, I can only see lower. You are my bipolar whistleblower. Yeah, the second act's a little more depressing than the first. But it all turns out okay. This is chapter 8. It's called Fallen Heroes. And I'm not talking about me, even though I'm not that far off. I'm talking about the death in October of Eddie Van Halen. And I'm no stranger to heroes dying. I got to see Stevie Ray Vaughan twice when I grew up in Miami, but he died the year after I moved to Austin. And then, you know, Superman, Death of Superman in 1992, I still have my copy in the shrink wrap. There was Batman 428 when Robin died, and Jeff Buckley died in 1997. But somehow Eddie seemed invincible. I mean, he had survived David Lee Roth, Sammy Hagar, which is worse, the guy from Extreme, having Alex's ride cymbal in his ear for 40 years straight. But he couldn't survive 2020. And the older you get, the more heroes die. David Bowie and Prince and Tom Petty still really sting. And Prince and Tom Petty both died of the opioid crisis, which also took my sister Hillary in 2019. And that one was the hardest for me because when I was growing up, Hillary was my idol. She was one of those people who was extraordinary. She was beautiful and funny and smart, and she was always the center of attention to everyone but her. Everybody recognized how great she was except for herself. And, you know, it's kind of like the world's greatest guitarist that was afraid to go on stage his entire career. He had stage fright and needed liquid courage. He was the best guitarist in the world to everyone, but he couldn't recognize it in himself. And the tools you use to get through are the ones that are going to destroy you. That line from an earlier song was written about this, but this song, I have a friend, Aaron, who once said that you can write sad, but you have to produce happy. And so some of the catchiest pop songs are also some of the most brutal. And so this song was written in the spirit of Eddie and dedicated to my sister Hillary. And it's called Always Lonely.
Couldn't have known. You're always lonely, but you're never alone. Let she that cast the first stone be always lonely, but you're never alone. Always lonely, but you're never alone. And all the boys wanna be by your side. All the girls wish you and died. It's your heart that is reeling, lost all the feeling, heart that is barely alive. I guess I couldn't have known. You're always lonely, but you're never alone. The queen abandoned the throne. Always lonely, but you're never alone. Always lonely, but you're never alone. When there's no one around, nothing drowns out the sound. The volume increases, you fall into pieces. There's no one to say, hey, I wish you would stay. Then you're on to the next one, the don't know what's best one, the failing the test one, the you'll never rest one, the nothing but sex one, the manic depressed one, the I should have guessed one, guessed one, guessed one, guessed one. And it's a shame, but it's not all on you, because the pain gives you something to prove. And it's your heart that is breaking, soul that is shaking, time that is wasted on you. I guess I couldn't have known. You're always lonely, but you're never alone. Queen abandoned the throne. Always lonely, but you're never alone. Always lonely, but you're never alone.
It sounded like an 80s song, so I wanted one of those endings where I could freeze frame. So this next chapter is called Extracurriculars, because 2020 wasn't all doom and gloom. You know, I reconnected with songwriting. This is actually the first time that I've played a set of original songs in over 25 years. So that's an accomplishment for me. And that wouldn't have happened without 2020. There's binge watching and bread making and games and puzzles. Did anyone get like a really crazy hobby during 2020?
Pasta making.
Pasta making. Rob Robbins had pasta making. For that response, you get a free t-shirt. My eldest daughter, Zara, who's here tonight, and I apologize, Zara, for any emotional damage like now or in the future that I'm causing you, but it's probably not as bad as that. But Zara has an Instagram business called Rosebud Thrifting, and over the pandemic, she reached over 21,000 followers, and she does all thrifted clothes. She doesn't wear anything but thrifted clothes. She has a sustainable outlook on life, and her generation, and she in particular, are probably going to save the world. So those are real heroes. My wife Kelly and my other child Aria both have 2 dollhouse projects going on in our house, and they're both at different scales. So we got a 1/12 in the dining room and a 1:10 in the living room. And so there's tiny little furniture and banisters and X-Acto blades and miter saws all over our house. I don't know if you guys saw the movie Hereditary, but it looks a lot like that. And I think I'm okay with it as long as I don't like find a little me in the attic without a head. I think we'll be okay. But my hobby is and always has been guitars, and 2020 was a awfully good year for guitars and guitar makers because a lot of people discovered that hobby and a lot of people just spend money on it, which is awesome. It's also the year that Bill Walker, who owns South Austin Music right there, was able to buy his building, and so now South Austin Music is going to be there as long as he keeps his cake on, and that is a major accomplishment. But I've got guitars that have been with me since high school. I've got guitars that I've toured around the country with. I've got guitars that were made in a factory that I got to design. I've got a lot of guitars, and this guitar, this is a '62 Strat reissue, and I bought it the week that I came to Austin at a place called Ray Henning's Heart of Texas Music. It was down the street from here, and it's the same place where Stevie Ray Vaughan bought his #1 guitar, which was an actual '62 neck with a '59 body. But that was another thing that I checked off my list. And now, exactly where Ray Henning stood is the parking lot for Alamo Drafthouse South Lamar, which was the first project I did under my own stamp. So it's bittersweet, but every time I go in that parking lot, I try to park in the exact spot where I bought that guitar. But since then, every guitar that I bought, sold, traded, borrowed for extended period of time was at South Austin Music. And I always had a dream guitar that Bill knew about and was on the lookout for, and that was like a late 50s Telecaster, a white Telecaster. It was the same guitar that Jeff Beck gifted to Jimmy Page before he left the Yardbirds, and it was the guitar that Jimmy Page recorded Led Zeppelin 1 on, and then also recorded the guitar solo to Stairway Heaven on that guitar. And you know, it's a rarity, and Bill over the years got close, but it wasn't the exact thing. But I have a longtime client and dear friend, Evan Boyles, who's here tonight. One of my awesome projects was also their house and his studio. And I was telling Evan this story in October of 2020, and he said, "I've got your dream guitar. It's in a case in my closet, and I haven't picked it up in years." And the next time I saw him, he handed me that tweed case with that guitar in it, and you know, it's a dream, and it plays awesome, and I will nurture and be nurtured by that guitar until either Evan or Astral Eric Johnson tells me, you know, it's time to move on and it's got a new home. But it did inspire a song about the joy of inspiration, and the name of that song is New Guitar. Guitar, a glance across the room led me straight to you. The fates already knew that once I grabbed a hold, I couldn't let go. So on with the show. New guitar, you feel like an affair, wanna take you everywhere. Let the stalkers stare, they can whisper till they're bored. What I want, I don't want any more. I found what I want. But old guitar. Nothing compares to you. Anticipate my moves. Push me to improve. I am better by your side. It's been a hell of a ride. This isn't goodbye, but old guitar. Sometimes a little break is exactly what it takes to shake this thing awake. I may be damned whichever way. Do I follow the road or is it better to stay? I got what I want, I shouldn't throw it away. Sorry, when I wrote this song, like it was there's a lot, and I posted the demos on Facebook, but it was a big production, and then at that point it just breaks down to the guitar and a cowbell, and then there's another guitar, but I didn't bring a cowbell. Does anybody have a cowbell?
I always have a cowbell.
Oh, excellent. Mark Hallman has a cowbell.
I carry it all the time.
Okay, can you do like 4/4?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then like it's that little guitar riff, and then a cowbell, and then above it are these kind of like little Stonesy riffs, like. But I can't do that at the same time. And when Evan handed me that guitar, I did actually say to him, one day I'm going to make you get up on stage and play that guitar. So today's the day. So. Mark Hallman has been my friend since I lived in Houston, and he's produced all of the records I ever really did. Mark Hallman produced, and he is a blessing to Austin. So let's and Evan, if you have ever seen a neon sign in Austin, as long as it's not a shitty one, Evan did it. So this counts as a band, right? Yeah. Is a song about guitars. It's not about marriages or dead-end jobs or some midlife crisis woes. I had two of those down and drag up the nose. But guitars every now and again are like a breath of fresh air. Remember when breath without fear was a thing? Now that's all I can think, so it's all I can sing. And nobody knows what the future will bring. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Thank you. That was the first time I played with people since 2019. Chapter 10 is called News of the World. Remember when breath without fear was a thing? It's all I can think, so it's all I can sing. Even in a song about the joys of creation, reality seeps in. And that's because reality is subjective now. I'll take, for example, Truth, Justice, and the American Way. What, when I was a kid, was more American than Superman? Now you can look at it like, he's an illegal alien. He's taking our jobs, not just our reporting jobs, but our hero jobs as well. He's sleeping with our women. There's Lana Lang and Lois Lane and Wonder Woman. I made the realization while I was writing this that Superman only stoops people that are alliterations. Prove me wrong. Yeah. And our villain is really just, and this is a quote, this is a Wikipedia quote, a narcissistic and egotistical power-mad business magnate. It's actually a quote from Lex Luthor's Wikipedia page. Lana Lang, Lois Lane, Lex Luthor. That's another alliteration, y'all. What do you think? I think. I'm almost sure. But it's the 1st of November, and shit is getting real. Like, surreal. There's so much information flying around, and none of us know what to believe or what's right. I mean, there's obviously things that you can believe, like maybe, I don't know, science. But you know, there is so much crazy information flying around that the CIA releases everything they have on UFOs. And nobody blinks an eye. It's like, that's not the news of the day. I did know that they were coming, though. And I have no idea what's happening or what to believe or what's next. So when I wrote this song, we have a rule in our house, or at least we did during 2020, that whenever we drove anywhere, we had to listen to happy music. So we listened to a lot of Disney Channel music and Victorious and Katy Perry, and Taylor Swift was on there occasionally, but she's really not happy. But we did listen to a lot of Katy Perry songs. There's this one song that goes, "Are you ready for the perfect storm, perfect storm? So what's your mind, going back?" And that "There's No Going Back" really stuck with me. And so I did like old school, like we used to do when we were kids, and I played the song out loud, and I recorded the "There's No Going Back." And then when I recorded this, I put that in the recording. And so when I sing it live, if I put my hand up to my mouth like this, I apologize, Richard, wherever you are. But when I do this, if you guys could give me the "There's No Going Back," I think it would make it a little more dramatic. What's next at the top of the year? No one could have guessed that we would be here, except the scientists armed with the facts. There's no going back. What's next? Is it two-headed snakes? Is it ice on the beach? Is it fire in the lakes? The scientists warned us of that. What's next? Being fed a perspective, reflecting respective unrest. If this is a test, we're failing. What's next when the right isn't right? When the left up and left, the middle behind? Can the scientists cure us of that? Thank you. Missteps once fell to our faith, but we use that excuse to push through our way. What would Jesus do? What would he say if he saw what you do in his name? What's next when it can't get much worse, but each verse we rehearse is a play that closed on opening day? Can we pray this nightmare away to a God we made to make way for more hate, for more years, and we may break under the weight? I just can't wait to see what's next. What's next at the end of the year? It's anyone's guess who will be here. Trust the scientists while they're working on that. Excellent. Thank you. So there is no going back, and fittingly, the last chapter is chapter 11. Because we need to reorganize. The election's over, and it was a nail-biter. Close race. You remember who won? Yeah, that's right, nobody. Because we're all further away from each other than we've ever been before, and we really do need to find a center. We need to find common ground, because it's true, like divided we will fall. But there are two truths that every single one of us in this room and in the world, I think we can accept these two things. Number one, the fact that every single one of us believes different things. Now, let's break this down for a second. The other day I was in the car and the song Don't Stop Believing came on, and it was me and Zara, and we had a discussion, and she asked me if I liked the song. Do I like the song Don't Stop Believing? And it caused a little bit of a panic attack because it's a song that I'm not sure if I love to hate or hate to love. And so I'm gonna take a poll. Who here loves the song Don't Stop Believing? Okay, yeah. And if you love it ironically, then that counts. So let's try that again. Okay, yeah. Okay, now who hates it? Okay. Gail's the only honest person in this entire room. We may stay worlds apart on this issue. We may never be able to escape this divide. But there's a simple rule. As long as Steve Perry isn't loving, touching, or squeezing you against your will, or anyone else for that matter, then just accept them. And accept the people who like them. You can hate Journey and love people that love Journey. You can embrace them with open arms. Yeah. Faithfully. Yeah. That worked, y'all. It worked. Yeah. So when I was 13 years old, this is number two, and I'm going to quote David Bowie here. I'm not going to embellish it, I'm just going to say it straight. We can be heroes. When I heard that song, it was another one, even saying it right now gives me the face tingles, because it's true. When I was 13, I was studying for my bar mitzvah, and I had a brief flirtation, maybe that's not the right word, with the idea of being a rabbi. And it seemed like a perfect job for me, because there was singing, there was a captive audience, especially on high holidays, and there's costume changes. How many jobs do you get that? But there was one problem, and that was faith. I didn't have it. I didn't believe a word of it. And so I asked my rabbi about that. I said, how can I continue to practice this religion if I don't believe? And his answer was simple and to the point. And he said, it doesn't matter what you believe. What matters is what you do. And as long as you move forward every day with kindness, then you are practicing your religion. You're practicing your faith. And those same words Kelly put on our ketubah, which is our marriage contract, which hangs on the wall of our bedroom. It says, with these rings, we commit ourselves to acts of loving kindness. And that makes us like the only superhero I think that wears an active ring is Green Lantern. So we're part of the Green Lantern Corps of hope. And I have to end on hope, because no matter what happened in 2020 or what happened yesterday, we can all move forward tomorrow with kindness. We can all try and practice the golden rule. And some of us, including me, it's not in our nature to act like that. And to quote Elaine, maybe, sometimes you have to do the opposite. And if we can all do that, if we can all act with acts of love and kindness, then everything will be all right tonight, which is the name of this song. I want to thank you all for being here and sharing in this group therapy session. I got a lot out of it. Hopefully you did too. And next time it'll be all of your turns to share. Yeah. Well, and again, if anyone wants a STARKITECT shirt, then buy a shirt and come up here, and I'll give you a something to iron on it, which Zara created on her Cricut. And thank you. This is all right tonight. I don't know what gender my baby is. I don't know what gender my baby is. My baby's 17. Is she a king? Is he a queen? I don't know what gender my baby is. I don't know what gender my baby is. The kid's about to fly. Is she an ecstasy or why? Don't know what gender my baby is. I don't know what gender my baby is. But sometimes you can't tell. But telling shouldn't matter. Teenage life is hell. It won't be better, but as long as you're yourself, then everything will be alright tonight. Alright tonight, 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 tonight. Don't know what color my neighbor is. I'm not sure if asking's appropriate. We get along just fine. I don't want to cross a line. I don't know what color my neighbor is. I don't know what gender my baby is. But what I think we need, it's all that really matters. Sensitivity. We'll make it better if we be and just let be. Then everything will be alright tonight. Alright tonight, 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 tonight. So, the 2 times I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan live, there was a part in the set where he broke down after an amazing guitar solo and broke it down to just drums and bass and sometimes Reese on the keyboards. And he would preach. He would talk about love and being good to yourself and being good to one another. And later years, he would talk about sobriety and I never believed it in Temple, but when he spoke, it ignited my bones. I felt it as deep as I've ever felt anything. And his voice is what brought me to Austin and brought me my family and the life I have, which I'm so thankful for. And the last word of this show is kindness. And I'm gonna just sing it until I'm tired of singing it. And if you guys can sing along with me, I think it might be cathartic. And if you can leave with that message, that would be even more awesome. And it would be not only mine, but Astral Eric Johnson's honor for you guys to do this for me. Cause there's one way to get out of this. It's not through religion or politics. We'll never coincide if the messengers divide. But every one of us has the fix. If each one of us can commit to acts of loving kindness. Thank you all. Yes. So I can't believe I did this, and I can't wait to do it again. So tell your friends, and thank you, and I love you all. Good night.